Okay, I started recording. Oh, hey, I was saying you get 1 extra credit point for participating in class. Thank you. What else? Happy Diwali to any of you who celebrated. Happy Diwali to you and your families. It's a festival of lights. It's good against evil, the day the good wins. And just the way I won against you guys and your fake allegations, whoever did it, they won't tell me who did it, but whoever did it, thank you. And oops. Oh yeah, this is, by the way, this is my, I made this yesterday. It's a festival of lights, so I made like we call these diyas, if any of you are interested. It is a picture, yep, of lamps, of light. It's a festival of lights. Diwali is a festival of lights, so. Yeah, we make a lot of, it's usually sweets, just to get it. Mm-hmm. 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 I mean, we don't do cakes for Diwali, but yeah, I mean, pretty close. You can say sweets, but okay. Oh, we're already in recitation 8. We're more than halfway through, believe it or not. I have only we have 7 more recitations left, I believe. So you don't have to put up with me anymore. It's only 7 more. Just put up with that. I don't have to put up with you as well. So positive. You might. You may or may not. I can't. Yeah, it's not up to me. So, I mean, if it was up to me, I would definitely give you guys assignments for now. But yeah. Okay. Recitation 8, JavaScript functions. Believe it or not, you've already been using functions. You just don't know that you've been using functions. You've been using inbuilt functions. Here, today, you'll be building your own functions, and we'll see how to do that. And you can customize it to do, I'll mention more. Let's look at the agenda. Understanding JavaScript functions, creation and modification, creating a function to cube. We'll be doing 3 major tasks, as always, as we make it interactive, and we try to make it interactive and do projects along the way, tiny little projects. Today, we'll be writing a function to cube a number, writing a function to calculate compound interest, and writing a function to calculate the volume of the Giza pyramid. So you may ask me, what is the use of functions? Why do we have functions? Why do we need functions, right? If you remember your CSS class from the classes that we created in CSS, right? So whenever you call in the style equal to class or whatever class equal to that class name, it basically copy pastes that entire styling attribute into that place, right? So you don't have to rewrite the same styling thing over and over again. You can reuse a class name. Functions are similar. So when I want to cube a number, instead of writing the same piece of code over and over again, I can just write it once, call the function something, and I can just call the function, define the function something, and then call the function multiple times whenever I want it. Does it make sense or no? Think about CSS classes, just the way we did before. You wrote a class name and then you call it wherever you want, right? You just call it using the name. You refer to that class using the name, and wherever it wants, you can copy that piece of styling code there. So functions are similar, but for more useful mathematical tasks. Defining it again, a function is a block of organized reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. For example, this is the syntax for a function here, function name, parameters, statement, and return result. Do we have a marker? Nope, it's not. I know it looks very similar to it because of these. You look at these and you think it's an if statement, right? Anything with these looks like an if statement. It's not. These are basically the blocks, the block of code that comes under this part. So you're just saying, do this block of code. If I call this function name with these parameters, I'll go into what those are. Function name is, just think of it like a CSS class name, for example. Oh, alert. Alert is a function. You remember you do alert off 2 brackets, and alert is a function. It's an inbuilt function. It's been written for you already. But here, you're writing a function just like alert. So you're saying in those brackets, these are my parameters. So in alert, you put in your text, whatever you want, right? You input that, you do the string, you do plus, whatever you want, or prompt, for example. So those are functions. The stuff you pass inside is called the parameters. So here inside your function, you play around with the parameters. So you say, for example, if I want to add two numbers, I would pass in number 1 and number 2, say for example, and I would do PAR total is equal to number 1 plus number 2, and I would, okay, I'm returning result, so I'll do result. Is it visible for you guys? Oh. So I'll tell you what I mean. So here you call your function whatever you want. Say function, you say function and the name, say call it sum, for example, right? This what it's doing. You do function sum. Number 1 and number 2 are your parameters. So what are your parameters? Parameters are anything you need to do this operation. So here my operation is sum, is adding two numbers up. So if anytime I pass two numbers to my function, it would create a variable result. It would add number 1 and number 2, and it would return result. When I say return, I'll show you what it means. We will be looking at actual code. That will make more sense. But for now, get the structure right. This is how your structure should be. You do some sort of operation on your parameters, you store it in a variable. You don't have to. You can just do return result directly as well. You could just do return number 1 plus number 2 here as well. But just to make it easy to break things up, we're doing this. With statements. Yep. That's the point of a function, right? Because so every time I want to add two numbers, instead of doing number 1 plus number 2 every single time, I can just say call this function, call it sum, for example. I just call number 1 comma number 2, just like you call alert, just like you call prompt. Do you write a function every single time for alert and prompt? No, right? You just use it. So yeah. Oh, my display is screwed. Okay. Yep. Go to this place and download the shell file that you have, that you see there. It's what we were using. It has a lot of styling stuff already done for you, so you don't have to kind of redo it. It'll look like this. Two folders. What do you mean to the shell? Oh no, it's you can't. You have to download it. If you shouldn't click it. Just you'll see three dots there, right? You'll see three dots to the right. Just click on those three dots and click on download. It should. Weird. Are you logged into your usual? It's weird. Okay, can you, I don't know, switch or do it with someone else, Krishna or whoever's sitting? Yep. What was I saying? Yeah. Once you download it, please let me know. Download both. You won't be needing the second one now, but for now, download both. Download shell and the other, what is it called? Something. Yeah, that. So download both. You'll be needing both of them. That's why I put them there. Again, if you look at the code, it should look very familiar to you by now. It's just doc type HTML, head, meta char set UTF, and all of that. Styling attributes. We don't want to do this. This is the part I hate in coding. It's not even coding. So just styling. And then you have the head. You finish the head. You have the body script. This is where HTML goes, right? Script is where your HTML code goes. Why do you guys look so puzzled? Is it not where your where does the HTML code go? It can go anywhere. Yeah, between script it can go anywhere, but you need the script tags, right? Yeah. So I'll also show you another thing to make it simpler. Okay, let me. I'll quickly show you how to write a function. Just the function, and I'm not doing the HTML stuff now. This will run by itself, and that's why I'm showing you this. So I need to zoom in. Okay, function. Let's call this sum. The one that the example that I just showed you. This is just it's a JS file. Notice the difference. It's a JavaScript file. So just like you have .css files where you just call in your CSS file, you can write JavaScript files separately and link them to your HTML file, your CSS files, and so on. Do you get it? It becomes a functional web page. Let's not go into that. It'll confuse people. But yeah, so this is basically what we call the selected stuff is what we call your function definition. Your function definition is the same as saying var a certain variable, right? It's your variable definition. You're creating a variable there. You're defining a variable. This is basically defining a function. You're saying this is my function definition. I'm creating a function named sum. This is your function name. If you just hover over it, it'll tell you. Num1 is your parameter 1. If you hover over it again, it'll show you. Num2 is your parameter 2. And you're creating a variable inside the function total. Does this have to be a variable, or can it be let from your extra credit assignment that you guys did? Can it be LET, or does it have to be a VAR? Nope, it can be LET. Because it's locally scoped, right? I'm using only within this block of code. If I'm referring to total outside of this block of code as well, I would need VAR, but let's not confuse that. It's a technicality that you should have learned with your extra credit assignment. So yeah, this is my function, and this is basically my function call. This is how you call your function. You're saying I'm calling my function sum, and I'm passing in number 1 and number 2. There are 2 numbers, right? I need to pass it 2 numbers. It can be any 2 numbers. But will this output anything at all? It won't, because you guys should know what console.log is by now because of your extra credit assignment again. What does it return? What are the sum of these 2 numbers? You see it? It's basically the same as seeing your browser console, but it shows you the console right here. But isn't it pretty cool? So instead of doing 1 plus 2 every single time, or whatever number you want, or what if it's a variable where you're taking 2 variable inputs from the user, say prompt. Oops. Okay. Okay, I'll just enter 2 numbers. Or let me just do A. I'll do 1 and what's happening? Screw it. It's fine. I'll show you later, but you can basically pass in any numbers, any 2 numbers, and it'll show you that output instead of you having to write the code every single time. For some, it doesn't make as much sense, but for complex operations, say you're doing a mathematical calculation, like your extra credit assignment due today, where you would be doing a mathematical rotation operation, which I don't know if you guys have worked out the math yet. Ideally, you should have your math ready by now so that you can just plug and play with your functions. Believe it or not, one person from section 7 is already done with it without even, I haven't covered functions for them, that he's already done with it. So yeah, you can basically pass in any number and it'll do the mathematical operation, or any operation and it'll give you the output. What if I don't return? What does this return do? What is it doing? This doesn't give, so the function of return is, it basically goes through every line of code. It creates a variable total, it adds the thing. When I say return and call the sum here, it basically returns the value to this part, and it does console.log off the value here. Does it make sense? I mean, you can just do return someone, you can just do this as well. It's the same. Oops. You get the same output. I'm just creating a variable just because you guys are starting off, and to make it look simpler, I don't want to confuse you. How does addition work and return and all of that? So I just did total, but you can still return number one plus number 2. You don't even need this. You cannot. What is it going to return? It's going to return the same. It's undefined. So return is what, whenever you call it, whatever you get from that part is why you use return. So you need to return. So this is basically your function definition again, to make it clear. This is your function call. This is exactly how you've been using alert. Console.log in itself is a function because, again, you see you're passing as a parameter. Prompt is a function, and these functions have already been written for you. You're just calling the function. But now you'll be writing your own function and calling your own function here again. This, again, to make sure, I know that I need to repeat stuff multiple times for you guys to get it. So this is function call, function definition, outputting using the function call. Okay. I hope you have it downloaded by now. You guys have it downloaded, this stuff? So are the script tags there or no? If they aren't, add them, please. So add the script tags. I erased what? Oh yeah, I think I might have put it. My bad. Erase that. It doesn't. You don't need that. What was the task? Okay. The first task: calculate the cube of a number. Create a formula to calculate the cube of a number. Y equal to x cube. JavaScript doesn't accept the exponent annotation. As you might have known by now, you just cannot expect when you do this your code to understand that it's. Can you see it? I'm sorry. You cannot understand that it's your code will not understand that it's x cube. It'll just define it as a x3. It'll just call it like any other variable. So if you want to do the operation x cube, you have to do x into x into x. Or there is an inbuilt function called pow, P-O-W, power, basically math.pow. You can do that as well. I'll show you how to do that. But yeah, you cannot expect your JavaScript code to understand annotations. So just don't do x cube, do x into x into x. Place the formula in a JavaScript function using a function declaration that follows the format in the third slide. Save and run it. Why don't we see any results? Okay, I gave away too much there. But let's create a function. You guys know how to create a function now. Function that's called cube. How many parameters do you need here? Why? How many variables are there? It's just one variable. You're multiplying the variable thrice, but it's just one variable, right? You just do num. Open the brackets the same way you would for an if condition, right? And then store var. What do we call? Cube. I'll call this cube and I call this cube. var cube is equal to num into num into num. Return cube. Okay, before that. Okay. How do we call the function? Anybody? Interact, please. How do we call the function? No, it's not. Call. I named two things: function definition, function calling. In the previous thing, do you not see it? What? This is how you call it, right? You pass in any number, let's say 3, for example. But console log is what we did. Is another way to do it. So right now, again, reiterating, you guys have seen 2 ways of outputting. One is alert, right? What does alert do? Someone speak up. Yeah, it makes a pop-up. Makes a pop-up in your window. What does console.log do? Shows up in your browser console. It will not give you a pop-up, but here, if you go, okay, let me open a new tab. Right click, inspect. What? What's not? Okay, it's working. Here you will see console. Anything that's being printed in your console will show up here. So basically, you don't have to show it to your user, but you can see it on the back end. You can see if stuff are working. This is where we would ideally do stuff you don't want your user to see, but you want to see if your function works fine. This is where your console.log will show up, which is what we did here. Basically, this is your console, and it's showing up in your console.log. Document.write would just write it in your web page. We'll see how that works. Okay, we're calling cubed of 3, right? Document.write cubed of 3. Okay. Let's open this. What is it doing? It's writing into the document. Can you see that? It's writing into your web page. Isn't that pretty cool? So there are 3 ways of displaying stuff to the user. Now, you know that. Alert gives you a pop-up. It'll pop up like a window here. You know that by now. Console.log, it'll show up in the console here. More tools. Developer tools. And console is where you would see stuff if you do console.log. document.write will just write it to your document, which is another way of doing it. And as you can see, I don't have to do num.num into num into num every single time. I can just call any number I want, and it should do it for me. And this is your, again, function call. Everybody, since you were confused with this is what you call a function call. Oops, I put in an extra bracket. Yeah. Look up. This is your function call. This is exactly what we call your function call. You're calling your function here. You're defining your function here. You're saying do this mathematical operation if I call the function name cube, which is exactly the way we're doing document.write. This in itself is a function. Do you see it? Cube of 5 is a parameter into this function. But this function is already written for you. You don't have to do document.write. It's already written for you. Alert is already written for you. It's written by the JavaScript people. You're just calling it. Console.log is already written for you. You're just calling it. Different ways to show outputs. And again, the styling, again, you can see the styling is changing the color and all that, but I don't want to get into that. You know that by now. Let's do the next task. What are you doing? Are you doing return? Are you calling it the right way? Cube doc or okay, one interesting story. When I started learning programming, me and my friend was a hot-headed guy, and he would just flip off at everything, right? So every time he used to tell me, every time I used to get something right, he used to be like, "Why does it work just for you and not for me?" Right? It used to keep coming up. He used to keep getting annoyed. But one thing good about coding is it doesn't discriminate, right? It doesn't know between you and me. It works if it's right. There's clearly something wrong. He's just not seeing it right. Yeah, exactly. It's inclusive. Code is inclusive, regardless of your color, your race, your whatever sexuality. It's super inclusive. So check it properly. Okay, let's move on to the next program. I hope that made sense. It made sense, right? You're just calling cube whenever you want to cube a number. You don't have to rewrite the code every single time. It's there in the slides. You'll find it in the slides, or maybe not. You can take a picture, but it's recorded. I mean, so yeah. So you don't have to write the same single code every single time. I can call this multiple times. As I'll show you. I didn't save it and reload it. I mean, I'll do it now. It's doing 125 and 27 back to back because I'm doing 5 and 3. Ideally, what would you do? You would put in a slash in. I won't get into that. It will confuse you guys. But it's basically doing 125 for 5 cube, and it's doing. Let me not confuse you. Let me not. It's too much already. 125. It works, right? So you can do it the way you want, and you can write multiple stuff for the same. Basically, the whole point of writing function is reusability. You don't have to write the same code multiple times. It's more efficient writing one function and then calling the function. So the next program is calculating compound interest. What is the formula? Business school students. Don't look at the slides. It's compound interest formula, the formula for compound interest. I'm not giving my money to you guys. What are you going to do? I mean, if you don't know the formula for compound interest, it's business school students. You have a square root? Yeah. You don't have a square root, right? Anyway, good attempt. It's basically C is your capital invested into 1 plus R by N, where R is your annual rate of interest, N is your number of times you get the interest per year, the whole power N into T. That's your formula. How do you write a function for this? Show me. Go on. You guys do it. I'm not seeing anybody typing code. Come on, I need to hear click clack. Type code. Time to code. How do you do this? Okay. Do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. You guys are doing it. Okay, before that, I'll briefly show you what I expect for your extracurricular assignment as well. A web page like this, right? Okay, I'll show you what the other person that I said in section 7 who did it. It's pretty cool. It works. Functionally works. I don't know if you guys can see. This is what he did. QFI coordinate rotation. How many coordinate points do you want? X coordinate, Y coordinate. Click on enter points. How far? And wait, I'll zoom out a little bit. I don't think you guys can see the bottom. How far? Enter degrees. I enter the degree. I do clockwise, counterclockwise. It shows me a rotated point. Isn't that pretty cool? This is exactly what I wanted from you guys. Another operation that I added on is shifting your point either horizontally or vertically. So since he did it before, he gets away with it, but you guys don't. You have to add another option. There should be 2 radio buttons before any of this. The radio button should ask me, do I want to shift the point or rotate the point? So this is point rotation. So think of a point in the plane, you're rotating the point either clockwise or anti-clockwise. But I also want you to shift it either horizontally or vertically. Does it make sense? What would you do? It's pretty simple. Just add your y coordinate by 3 or x coordinate by 3 or reduce your x coordinate by 3 or y coordinate by 3. You get it? It's on a plane. It's on an xy plane. There's a point here, shifted by 3 points horizontally. How are you guys doing it? You're doing calc. You should know this. Either way, left or right, or top or down. You just add or subtract your x or y coordinate, right? That's all you do. Pretty simple. It's a radio button. This is what we call a radio button. So yeah, I don't know if you remember it, but you can rewatch the video. We have the video, but yeah. So this is what I expect. A web page like this where I can enter stuff, more functional. Ideally, I would want to enter my stuff here. Initial deposit, let's say $100. Number of years, 1. Annual interest, let's say. Here, annual interest 0.1 doesn't mean 0.1 in interest rate. 10%. How do you represent 10%? We saw that before, right? Your percentages to your computer, you write it as decimals because it doesn't understand the symbol percentage. Number of interest, let's say 1 just to check if it works. It doesn't because there's no code in there. But ideally, if I click on that, it should give me 110, right? That's what we're going to do. That's where our script will go. Now you can open int rate, the other HTML file that was in my doc, that was in my folder. It's a complex code. It's already done for you. All this. Remember, we did the text box stuff last week. We didn't do it properly, but we did something. Do you remember the code for that? The input boxes, all of these. I'll quickly go through what it is. We're doing the style tags again to get the layout like this, and then we're creating variables in your script. We're creating a function. This is where we'll write a function. We'll do it right now. Closing script. Again, remember your input tags for creating your text boxes will go in HTML and not JavaScript. You remember that, right? These tags are what create your boxes here. It goes in your HTML code and not JavaScript code. Your script starts here and ends here. I'm creating my function in script in JavaScript, and I'm saying it's over. My script part is over. My HTML part starts here, and all of this is HTML. Input is a tag in HTML. What do you mean this? Oh. Yeah, go on. What do you mean? No, we're supposed to create a function. The whole point of this is you reusing the code, right? You can type whatever you're doing inside this function here every single time, multiple times for 10 different times, or you can just do it once here and then call the function 10 different times, which is more efficient. You tell me. Creating a function, right? But why? Do you get it? Do you understand? Or does it not make sense? You don't seem satisfied. Oh, you already did? Good job. So that's fine. We'll see how you did it. But so ideally, you would write your function code here, the mathematical formula here, and this is where I want you to call it. So quickly go through the stuff. You have a text box, enter initial deposit text box. You're calling that box dep, DEP. You're calling the next box years, your input here. You're calling the next one rate. You're calling the next one num int pay. And get total is your button here, calculate get total. Upon clicking that, so what is your event here? Your event here is clicking on the button, right? Yes, you guys seem really lost today. But your event here is basically when I click on the button, I want this to show up here. So your event is clicking on the button. So where would the code go? It would go in the button, right? In the button on click is where the code would go, right? This is where you would call your function ideally. You would just pass the number with the variables here. Again, you don't have a set number here, like the 3 or 1 or 2 that we were passing before. It's all variables. It's based on my input. My input can be anything. My input can be 10,000, it can be 100, it can be 1 million, it can be a billion. So you have to play around with the variables here, pass it to your on click. Clicking on my on click should show it here, should put my value in here. So let's write the code. Put the add by? What do you mean? Line number? Give me the line number. 39, okay. Yeah, number off. We'll get to that. I get your question. Good one. Good question. Yeah. Let's first write the formula down. It was C times 1. Was it 1 plus? 1 times 1 plus r over n. How do you do to the power of? We did into, right? So for cube, we just multiplied it thrice, but here it's a variable. It's times n into t. How do you multiply something n times? Nice. You saw the slides, I'm assuming. I did? Okay. Math.pow. It's again an inbuilt function we're using here. It automatically does it for you. And you pass in as an argument your first thing to whatever the power it should be. What is your power here? R times n, right? Sorry, n times t. My bad. Does it make sense? I know that this can look complicated. Basically, your first thing before the comma is your, say, a power b, right? Your first thing before the comma is your a. Your thing after the comma is your b. So this to the power of this is how math.pow works. Your first argument is your base term. Your second argument here is the thing that it's raised by, to the power it's raised by. We're doing that, and we're doing return. Again, remember we should return. What happens if we don't return here? N times t. It's a formula. Yeah. You have to return again. Remember, if you don't return, it's going to throw undefined. It's just going to give you undefined. You should return every single time. And this is where your on-click code goes. What would you want here? If you have these many variables, you would have to pass them, right? What are your arguments here? C, T, R, N. What is C? Original deposit. T, number of years. R, rate of interest. N, number of times you're paying the interest per year. So what would you do here? First, where do you want to show up? You wanted to show up here, right? You wanted to show up in this box. What is the box? Give me a minute. What is the box called? That's the way you call it. It's a good attempt, but think about your buttons as well. What is your variable here? Your variable where you want your, this text box is where you want your output to show up, right? So do you just not do that variable dot value equal to, you're calling the function now, right? What's the function's name? Total with interest. Again, notice the camel case variable, camel case naming for the function name as well. Remember, an important thing. And then you're passing in 4 arguments. Now you can tell me, what are you passing? What are the arguments? There are 4 arguments, right? C, T, R, and N. Function is not taught. It's a variable inside the function. Your function is total with interest. I'm returning that, but it has 4 arguments. Did you forget this? My function definition says my function should always get in 4 arguments. Where are the 4 arguments that you're passing to the function? Variable here, right? Yeah, because you're taking these as inputs. Do you get it? All of these are your inputs. So how would you pass them? Your first thing is C. It's your depth, right? What happens if you don't do dot value? Yeah, it's not a string. You do dot value in buttons because these are variables in your buttons. Dep has a lot of other attributes. If you watch through your recording, I went through that for section 7. You will see that. You will find it. It has a lot of stuff, and value is where your numerical value is stored. Oops. Why do I keep getting this? That's fine. Okay, that's my C. What is my T? Number of years. It's just years here, right? My ID is just years. So you'll just do years.value. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are confused now. I can tell with you, with just you guys talking amongst yourselves. If you have doubts, you can bring it after the class, or hopefully watch the recording again, get it clarified. So this value thing, if you're getting confused, rewatch Recitation 6. We go through this in detail. You have to do dot value. Semicolon. So you're just saying this variable becomes this. Will it work or no? Did I save it? I did. I put it. It gives me. It works. So you saw how to do it. What else do we need? Isn't this annoying? Good one. Or there's another thing you can do. Math.round. Another function, another way of doing that. Yeah, it did. It sometimes has those errors. Total with interest. We have to call the function again. Yeah. Round just rounds it to the nearest integer. It doesn't. Yeah. So it'll just do the nearest integer. But you can also do 2fix. You know how to use 2fix by now, right? You'll do 110. It looks more neat. But yeah, you can do 2fix here as well. That's the second thing done. We're running out of time quickly, so I'll go through this as fast as I can, and then we can hopefully take in questions later. We saw all of this. Math.pow. That's how you do it for variables. You have the syntax there. This just goes through observe the style script sections and text boxes. Oh yeah, I went through the text boxes. So if you're confused with this, I think this is where a lot of you would be confused, right? I know you're not, but I see a lot of others too. Yeah, so these are the text boxes that we created last time. That's what it does. It creates a text box. Notice one important detail here. For the last text box, TOT bunny, we're doing read only. What does it do? Notice that. What does it do? So in every other thing, when I click on it, I can type stuff, right? I can type random stuff, whatever I want. In this, I won't be able to type. So in your box where you're outputting your stuff, you ideally have it as read only, right? You shouldn't take values in by mistake. When I put it in the group, when I said you have to understand what assumptions your code is making, this is an assumption. So before that, if you just made it as a normal text box without a read only, the assumption is that a person can also enter stuff, right? Your worst case code. You always calculate in computer science, you're a pessimist. You always think of the worst case. So in this worst case, if I input stuff here, my program is going to break. You shouldn't want that. You should make stuff read only. When I get in your output for the Q5 today, when it gives me the rotated point, the proper rotated point with the mathematical formula, I shouldn't be able to enter stuff. I would expect this from you. So it should be read only. Think about it. What happens if you put it? Again, think about it. Even before you ask a question, think about it. What happens if I put read only for this? Will I be able to enter stuff? The box where you're outputting is what needs to be read only, right? Yeah, if you have multiple output, every single box where you're just using it for showing an output, it has to be read only. Yes, of course. Let's do the third task quickly. What else? Yep. How will it do two different answers? It'll just read it as a string, right? That's exactly what. again, I'll go through. Did you guys read this? I put out an announcement. I scheduled the announcement long time back, but I think it got posted yesterday night, 12 a.m. Did you guys see the answers for your extracurricular assignment? Did you understand? It was pretty cool. Did the second question mess with a lot of your heads? I put a lot of effort making that assignment, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. The true or false one. None of you got the answer right. Not a single one of you, except for I think Jaden. Jaden got it right, but not a single one of you got it right, apart from her. I'll go through the stuff if I find time. So yeah, we saw two. I mean, you can use two fix. We saw math.round. Read only, change the colors to your liking. All that is fine. Okay, the last task, right? We end here. Okay, we have what 30 more minutes. Create a program to calculate the volume of Great Pyramid of Giza. Use the Cuber program as a template. The cube program where we wrote the first one. In this case, we want to use prompts to feed the arguments. The mathematical. So when we say prompts, it's not your text boxes like your previous case. It's a prompt. The mathematical formula is volume equal to area of the base into height by 3. Data for function, arguments, pyramid of Giza, area. So if we pass in these attributes to your function, which calculates the area, it should give me this answer. Code away, start. In your cube function, in your shell.html, go back, change your cube function to, I don't know, volume. And what are your attributes? What are you passing? Area of the base and height, right? Area, comma, height. Oh, another important thing that I forgot to mention. Okay. We're doing CTRN here, right? Here we're saying CTRN, but here we're passing depth, years, rate, num, int, pay. Shouldn't these be CTRN as well? Do you guys not think so? We're doing CTRN here, right? The variables are named CTRN. Your parameters are named CTRN, right? So shouldn't you do here? Shouldn't you just pass C, comma, T, comma, R, comma, N? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I have my headphones on as well. Yeah, so exactly. It's like a variable, right? It's first you have to pass this. That's where the value is stored. But here it's like you're creating your own mathematical formula. Think about it. You're saying my mathematical formula has 4 variables. I can pass whatever variable I want to it, but my mathematical formula takes in these 4 variables, it spits out this number, and the mathematical operation that it does is C times 1 plus R by N to the power N times T. Makes sense? So when you're passing functions to this, when you're passing arguments to this, again, these are what we call arguments. The stuff that goes in the brackets is what we call arguments or parameters. When you're passing this, you have to pass it in the right order. So instead of passing CTRN, instead of passing original deposit, number of years, interest rate, this, if I do number of years, comma, interest rate, comma, deposit, comma, number of times, will it give me the same answer? Do you think? Yes, no? Okay, I think I'm talking way too fast. I'm sorry. Instead of passing CTR, so CTRN is what I'm saying my function gets in. It does this mathematical operation, right? Instead of passing it in this order, CTRN, which is original deposit, number of years, interest rate, and so on and so on. If I pass T first, if I call my T, which is my number of years first, comma, my rate of interest, comma, my original deposit, comma, N, will it give me the same output or no? It will not give me the same output. I'm just saying anything that gets passed first is my C. It can be any number. Your program is not smart, it's dumb. Any number that gets first. So dep.value is the first number you're passing to it. I'm just saying dep.value is my C every single time. If I do years.value here, it'll change the output. It'll consider my C. Basically here it'll do C equal to years.value. Do you get it? And instead of rate.value, it would change. If I put T rate.value here, it would do my T, it would change my T here. Everything changes. Do you get it? Yeah. So if you want to pass it as T, R, C, N, then you change this to T, C, R, N here, and then you pass T, C, R, N here. Do you get it? Understood? Makes sense. And whatever you're getting as an argument here, make sure to use it here. Otherwise, you don't need it as an argument, right? People who begin with programming, they usually just do a lot of things that they don't need. But then here, if your mathematical operation only needs C, R, N, and T, why are you taking more inputs than you need? You need only 4 here, right? I hope I didn't confuse you, but I mean, that's the best I can try. We have 10 more minutes, so let's move back. Volume, we're taking in as parameters height. So for calculating the volumes, what are the 2 variables that you need? Yes, please, someone else answer. You guys are done for today. You guys have got your extra credits. You're done. Someone else, please speak up, open up. You guys are business school students. The only thing you should be, if there's anything you're good at, it should be speaking and selling yourself, right? Please open up. The business school students that I work with, they keep yapping on all day. And I'm the CS student here, just yapping on. You guys are just silent. Open up, open up. You need 2 arguments, area of base and height. We're passing them here, area and height, and we're doing var vol equal to area times height by 3. But it was the whole off. Remember? It's the whole off. How do you indicate that? You do the whole bracket times and divide by 3. And you return vol. What happens if you don't return? You get an undefined error. You get an undefined output. That's what happens. And here, what do? Document.write. How will you change this? How do you call the function here? Someone. Not Wisdom, not Alex. Someone else. Volume of. What are you checking for? Yeah, that's a formula, but this is what we want to pass, right? We want to check if the pyramid of Giza's volume is right. So 52,900, and will you pass in commas when you say 52,900? Do I put a comma here? What will it think if I do this? What is it going to think? Yeah, it's going to basically think my area is 52, comma my height, right? It's going to consider my height as 900. You cannot do commas in programming. 52,900 and 146.5, right? Yeah, 0.5. Let's go back, reload. 2583 to whatever. It matches, but the precision is not the same. What do we do for that? Yeah, simple. So 2fix is another function here, if you think about it. And we're just saying my parameter for 2fix is 2. Everything is a function. Think about it in terms of functions. Change the way you think about programming now. Did it not work? Oh, why didn't it work? Why do you think it didn't work? It's not doing 2fix. Some of you would know. Hannah, you should know by now. You had this error in your assignment 6. Why didn't it work? Why doesn't 2fix work? I think, Krishma, you had this as well. You had this error. You fixed it Friday. Exactly. You have to say a number off, right? The 2fix takes in only numbers, right? You cannot do string 2fixed off. It doesn't make sense. If you do number off, this thing, and then 2fixed, it's going to work. Oops, still not. Why isn't it? Weird. Doing something wrong. Number off. Oops. No, it should be number dot 2fixed. Yeah, see, this is the syntax. Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, I got confused with that. Yeah, it works now. So anytime you want a number, do number off. Don't confuse your program. It converts things to strings. Again, if you did your assignment, extra credit assignment properly, you would understand when it converts to string and when it doesn't. But yeah, convert it to number and do 2fix. Pretty simple now. Do you guys understand? No. I can tell. Okay. So assuming I don't do return, right? what is it going to throw? Not a number, right? I'm calling my function. I'm not returning anything. Remember, always define your function. Your function definition is always return your value that you expect your function to return. This is the second part to check. Always call your function the right way. When I say call your function the right way, pass in the right amount of arguments. If you have two arguments in, and if you just pass in one, what's going to happen? What do you think will happen now? It won't work. It won't work because you're passing only one input. It expects two inputs. Your volume will just do area times. It doesn't have height. Not a height will not be an NaN here. NaN times anything is NaN, returns NaN. You do NaN dot two fixed stuff, it's an NaN, not a number, right? So always make sure to put in the right amount of arguments. If you expect a number, make it a number and then do two fixed stuff. I think you had this error as well. That's why it was showing me some weird. For everybody else, it was doing 3.21. For you, it was doing 0.213 because it kind of concatenated 0.21 and 3. It was so yeah. Anytime you expect a number, just do number off. It should work. That's it for today's planned content. I wanted to show you a few more stuff for your assignment, extra credit assignment today. And hopefully this gives you like an idea of how I expect your web page to be. Good luck. You have 2 hours and 45 minutes. Even better because he submitted before, so he gets away with it. Yep. By 7:45 p.m. tonight. I'll see it. Because I told you, right? I want the shifting as well, horizontal, vertical shifting. This is doing only the rotation. It's only rotating point. It is. And that's why I want you guys to do it even before that so that you don't procrastinate. You don't leave it till Friday night. Call me on Friday night. I don't know. Just email me. I got 100 emails on Friday. I'm not even kidding. I got more than 100 emails on Friday night. That's when you guys work. Do you think I don't have assignments? Do you want me to show you how many assignments I have due on Friday? Yeah. Wait, before that, I have a lot more stuff to say. What was it? I wanted to show you a few more functions that would help you for today. Oh, before that, let me cover extra credit stuff. This is your first extra credit. Okay, let me first do the second one. This is the most interesting thing. And everybody got it wrong. You got the other stuff right, few of you. We're putting in the max value here, right? We're saying my max num is number dot max value. What is max value? Think about it. I'll bring a marker. Think about it. Exactly. And in terms of bits, give it to me in terms of bits. Excuse me. I have a marker in it. Yeah. Yep. Thank you. What is my max number in terms of bits? Someone who's not Wisdom or Alex. I want an answer. What's the max num in terms of bits? How do you represent a max num? So that's 1 point, not Jaden as well. You did it. So apart from you three, someone else. How do you represent your max num in terms of bits? What are your bits? What are bits? What is a bit? A bit? You guys had them. A bit. What do you mean a line? Byte, bit. What were your zeros and ones that you all did? Yes, two to the end, but what are these? When you say all of you wrote this in your exam, seemingly all of you got it right because I gave you credits for it, but you had some 0, 1, 0, 0. What are these? Okay, so they didn't tell you. Professor Lau didn't call it a bit, is it? Okay, this is what we call a bit. So all of these are binary digits, yes, but the way your computer stores stuff is it. When I say value of 5, right? How is it stored in my computer? When I say VAR, how is it stored in my PC? How do you think it's stored in my PC? Why would you give me? It's basically stored as 1, 0, and 1, right? 2 power 0, 2 power 1, 2 power 2, 4, 0, 1. It adds it all. This is how it stores 5. Each of this is a bit. Yes, each of this is a bit. This is how it's stored in the bit. So when I have 3 bits, what do you think the maximum number that I can store is? Why 111? 111 for each bit, right? But what is the value? So basically 2 power 2 plus 2 power 1 plus 2 power 0, right? So it'll be 4 plus 2 plus 1, which will be 7. 7? Yeah. 7 is the maximum value you can store with 3 bits, right? When I say dot max val there, how many ever bits there are? Every single bit becomes a 1. That's what it means. Do you get it? That's the max val. When I say min val is not every bit is, so let's assume 3, 6, 8. Let's assume 8 bits. 8 bits is 1 byte. I don't know if you know that by now. Do you guys know that? 8 bits is 1 byte. It's what we collect bits together and we call it a byte. So when I say min val, it is the minimum value that it can possibly store, right? It should be 1 here, right? It cannot be 0. So if it's 0, then it's just the same as setting it 0. Min val is just saying, give me the minimum number that I can store. When I do max val plus 10, what do you think happens? Can it add more bits to a thing? It cannot. When it does plus 10, it just remains the same. That's why you get, when I do, some of you were incredibly smart. What you said in your answer was, it gives me true because it matches. I cannot see that, I'm blind. That's exactly why what I was expecting is it gives me true because all the bits are filled. All the bits are already 1, right? When I add any number, it's just a change of precision. It doesn't add anything to it. It has the maximum value possible, so it gives me true because it matches. Not true because it matches. I know that. I know that much. And this is the min value, right? What happens when I do min by 10? What do you think happens? It just makes it 0 here, right? It just converts into 0. But the reason why I asked you to, I forgot, I should have put this in the assignment. It would have made it even more cooler. When I do, what do you think happens now? Why is it true? I'm dividing this by 1.99. Why is it making it true? Why is the minimum value still the same? Some of you, again, your intelligent answers were because it has a point. Let me do 1. Because anything with the decimal just gives me, that's what you guys said. Anything with the decimal gives me true. But let me do another decimal, random decimal, 2.6. What is it now? Why is it false? Can you store 1.91 bit? Think about it. Think about it. Why? It's not the answer. Think about it. 2.6 is also pretty close to 0. Okay, you're saying 1.99 is closer to 0 than 2.6, right? Isn't 2 almost the same? Why is it false? You said. Let's do that. That doesn't make any. Here you don't answer. What? I'm doing 1.9999999 run. It's still false. Why do you think so? What are the powers that I said it's stored in? What power is this? What number is this? So when I do divided by 2, what does it do? Think about it. These are bits. When I divide this by 2, what does it do? Why is it 2? Why is the cutting point there was 2? You saw it, right? When I put 2, it makes it true. Any other number before 2, it makes it false. Any other number after 2, it makes it true as well. I'll show that to you again. Let me do 2. It does false. Any number bigger than 2 is false as well. Any number smaller than 2 is true. When I say divide by 2, what it does is this entire 0, 0, your last bit is 1. And when you divide it by 2, it basically pushes this, it makes it 0. Or when you have a number like, when you have a number like this, when you divide it by 2, what ideally happens in terms of bitwise operation, we call this bitwise operation because each of these is a bit. What ideally happens is it becomes this. When I divide that number by 2, it shifts the 1 by 1 point to the right. When your point is already to the very end, when you shift it by 1 point to the right, it becomes 0. it shifts 1 point here, but there's not enough bits to store it, so it just becomes 0, 0, 0, 0. Makes sense? No. Is it too complex? That's fine, but yeah, I thought it was a cool example. So whatever. If you can't appreciate it, then it's your fault. The other thing was, do you guys understand how this works? I think a lot of you got it right, but it's basically strings and numbers and playing around with strings and numbers. And why this is NaN, because okay, you can go through the answers. You have the answer key. I'll go through one more thing that you need for today's extra credit assignment. Good luck. Good luck. I mean, I haven't been eating or sleeping, so I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, I'm not complaining. Yeah, believe it or not, that night where you guys, whatever bullshit you guys put me through, I stayed up the entire night. I couldn't sleep. Usually I don't have time to sleep, but that night I couldn't sleep. I was so pissed. I really wanted to bash one of your heads into the wall. I'm a really nice person. I wouldn't even think about things like that, but whoever it is, I really want to do that. I definitely would do that. I'm just putting on a facade in front. If I get to know who it is, yeah, I definitely would do that. It is, but I just I've had a lot of stuff these past few days. And yeah, again, the thing that I went back to, how many of you have math 135 on Thursday? I want to see that. No, the exam. The exam. No, you have this Thursday, right? Yeah. Oh, are you taking it as well? Ah. Oh, crap. Okay. So yeah, when I said, okay, you guys can, whoever wants to leave can leave. When I said create a data structure in question 5, this is what I mean. This is a class. We'll go through the stuff probably later, but it's a class. And for loops, you guys should know what for loops do by now. Have a good understanding of what for loops do. This was in one of your, did you copy for your extra credit assignment? What is this? What is this? What did it do? What did it output? What is it outputting? We're covering this next recitation. I mean, good luck. If you can do it without this, good luck. If you can do this assignment without that, then what is? Parse int. Parse int. Okay. I'm going to take attendance from now on since a lot of you aren't showing up. Just wait for that. I'll take attendance and you can leave. I'm going to take it, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it because, yes, I'm going to take it because Kristen doesn't show up otherwise. A lot of you don't show up. You will not. And that's the whole point.